Hello, this is Dr. Pradnya Chitrao from SIMS Pune. In the last video, we saw how email writing has become very important in the 21st century, especially in the business world. Now in this video, we will look at some of the challenges that one faces whilst writing a formal email. So now if we are to write effective emails, we must look at some of the challenges that we face in email writing. And the very first challenge is that people usually tend to write subject lines which are very vague. But for an email to be looked at, to be opened up in the first place, the email has to have a subject line which is best described by the acronym SMART. That is, it should be very specific, it should be meaningful, it should be appropriate, it should be relevant, and it should be very thoughtful. A brief but very effective descriptive line will be very useful as a subject line. Research has shown that a subject line which has about 6 to 9 words is best having the opportunity of being opened up and read by the recipient. And if, for example, a manager wants to invite his or her colleagues to participate in a certain decision making, for example, if that manager is in charge of the website of the company and wants inputs from his or her colleagues, then just writing a subject line company website will be very vague. So that manager should write very specifically whether he or she wants the colleagues to come and help decide, for example, on a very good service provider for preparing a very good company website. The next challenge that one faces in email writing is that there is no greeting. There are many people who tend to straight away start off on what they wish to say. But a greeting is very essential. And if it is a very formal email, then you can have a very formal greeting like, for example, Dear Mr. Mahesh Desai, or Dear Ms. Nehal Pathak, or Dear Mr. Desai, or Dear Ms. Pathak. Indians have a tendency of saying Dear Mr. Mahesh or Dear Ms. Nehal, which is accepted in India. If it is slightly informal, or if you are communicating the second or many times over and you have got a good equation established with the recipient, then you can say Dear Mahesh or Dear Snehal. A good greeting is very important because first and foremost, it starts the message on a very cordial and friendly note. It reinforces to whom it is addressed, and the recipient knows whether he or she is the one who is the main addressee or whether he or she is put in CC, that is courtesy copy. So this is very important. The next challenge that is there in email writing is that there is no proper sign off. Many people don't write a good sign off, or what is known as the complimentary close. A complimentary close is very important first and foremost because it indicates that the message is at an end. It reinforces the identity of the sender, and it also gives additional information of the sender in his or her signature, which comes below the complimentary close. A good complimentary close for business correspondence is either regards or warm regards followed by the name of the person who is sending across the email. The next challenge that is there in email writing is that there is no proper formatting. Now this is a very important challenge because first and foremost, blank space or white space as it is called is very good, especially when the recipient is viewing the message on the screen. It is easier to read, and so formatting should be done firstly by keeping spaces between the paragraphs. Next, one should also ensure that the message, that is the body of the email, has short paragraphs and they should be to the point. They should not be long winding messages like stories or essays. That is very important. So it should be good formatting, which is crucial for a recipient to read right up to the end of the message. The next challenge which is there, and many people tend to fall a prey to this temptation, namely CC to the whole world. For this, one must first of all decide who exactly should be knowing the contents of the message that you are sending across. You should not be putting everybody in CC. Only those people who matter and who need to know the content should be put in CC. So it is very important to first and foremost know who exactly you want to know about the information or the message that you are sending across. Now, one important thing to remember about CC is that the persons who are kept in CC are there only because they need to know the correspondence that is going on between the sender and the recipient. They are not bound to respond to the email, but the primary recipient to whom the email is addressed should be actually responding to the email. And it is mandatory in many companies these days that the recipient should respond to official messages either within 24 or maximum 48 working hours, which is actually the etiquette when you are getting messages by way of emails. In the next video, we will be seeing some of the precautions that we should be taking in email writing.